Hey, very good morning. It's never easy giving the first keynote after a very wonderful way of celebrating the opening ceremony of the conference. Anyway, the first thing I did was to put a timer, because the next keynote speaker, I told him that I might take, 30 minutes is very short for anything. I think all of us in academicians, we usually take about 2 hours and we still can't finish. Our introduction itself will probably take 20 minutes, but however, I'm going to keep this talk for 30 minutes, and I hope in this 30 minutes you'll be able to share some sort of a journey that I think all of us in the world of computing try to do very much, that is to make a big difference in our own field, but we also want to make a very big difference in other fields. So thank you very much to a very dear friend who I respect greatly, Professor Sridharan. Excellently done conference. Mr. Krishna Kumar, Devi Madam, my sister, and to all the dignitaries and wonderful students and all those participating, and you are the ones who make this conference a success. Every one of you who's presenting here, I still remember when I was a student and the first conference I entered, a hall similar to this big, the first thing I wanted to do was run out. Because I think you're not bothered about the keynote, you're probably very interested in your own talk and how you're going to deliver it. And that's why sometimes it's nice when you engage in conferences, because you get to network. The topic that I'll be talking about today is on empowering smart computing through the power of light. Well, if you look at, all right, when you look at the word smart, everything seems to be smart. You wonder what's not smart nowadays. It is just like the term IoT, big data. You feel you don't use it anymore, like you never tell people you're wearing a watch, and then it becomes a smart watch. And because I'm in the IT field and I love sports a lot, I have to unfortunately wear a smart watch. I'm very traditional in my ways. I still like using a fountain pen to sign, and I still like my traditional watch, but I look a little bit alienated in the smart world of today, so I've also transcended. I come from a town, a very small town from Malaysia. It's called Port Dickson. It's by the beach, and from this town is where I have actually embarked my journey in many ways, and I have reached your beautiful land of India when I was 18 years old, when I represented the first time my country, Malaysia, in the field of sports which you are very, very good at, which is hockey. And I came to Chandigarh, and last year I had the pleasure of being part of this conference. But due to COVID and lots of travel restriction, I was online. So, and I have actually understood very well that the physical, however smart we are, somehow or other the physical touch is actually very important. So those of us actually in this field of computing, we actually have to do a lot of things in different areas. There's no one singular area that is great. So for example, if you look at, later I'll talk a little bit about what's transcending now, we have many different areas. And to tell you the truth, the volume of research that we do has very big impact. Today you can't work alone. When I did my PhD, I specialized in a lot of wired. The day I graduated and the first day I started work and I got my first PhD student, I had to migrate to the beautiful world of wireless. Two things are very challenging in our area of work. One is, it's constantly changing. So actually, if you do claim yourself as an expert, you'll only be able to claim one thing, that is the ability to critically think and to change the way you think rapidly when something new hits our field. Like for example, AI, ML. It's currently the most happening thing. But as I discussed with some of my friends before this, however intelligent it is, it has to work with other people. You can't be an engineer. You can't be an economist. You can't possibly hold everything. So you have to be actually good at various areas. So if you look at the ecosystem of smartness, smart computing, you will find many different elements: big data, augmented reality, blockchain, quantum computing, and of course, fortunately, whatever it is, it requires a network. Yes. And if you look at us, the best benchmark for networking would be electricity. You see, you never ask the question of the gradient of electricity where you are. The power to control it is in our hands if we want to make it dim or anything. But we never ask. However, whenever you go anywhere for computing, you need to ask them, is it 5G? Is it 4G? Is it 6G? Am I using the 802.11ax, BE? Or am I still using the N standard? Because it's still in a very large gradient. So fortunately, due to this variance, we have different areas. So these are the guys who work with me, who I'm very grateful because just like you presenting your papers today, I have wonderful students as well. And they may be what we are. And I specialize in the area of networking. And currently, because of the growth of edge computing and fog computing, and cloud has been there for a long time, none of us can specialize in wireless without being good at distributed. So we work in different areas, and as you know very well, the term entrepreneurship, I've heard it's very special to the land of Gujarat as well. But it is quite an exclusive term for other people. You don't become an entrepreneur overnight. You need to be skillful. So we've started a very humble startup, which I'll share with you later and in tomorrow's panel discussion as well. So those are the areas. However, as I mentioned earlier, we don't work alone in the field of computing. We have to work with other people, meaning that whatever you create, however intelligent it is, none of us can create intelligence for someone else, not even in our personal lives. Even if our parents tell us what to do, you'll see a glitch in your face. And they are the ones who brought us to the world. They are the ones who know us from the time we didn't know how to walk and make us walk, and still we tend not to agree. So you can imagine bringing intelligence to agriculture, to smart cities, to medical, to economics, and so on. So one of the areas I decided to work on was something that was very close, is very close in my heart and in practically every drop of my blood, I think, which is sports. And hockey happens to be something that's very close to my heart because from the time I know, when I was a little girl, I've played it. And eventually I've become into administration, which has given me a new perspective of the world of computing. See, we can sit in a room like this, but you'll be surprised at the volume of need there is in outside fields there are. So one of the areas that is very important actually is sports. But sports has a different perspective. People think sports. It's recreational. If I like, and now people are very, very fanatical about their number of steps, right? Your heartbeat. You want to be smart in being fit. You watch your food and so on. But sports happens to be one of the biggest billion-dollar market that rarely do people look into because it's played by the big boys. So if you look at the Olympic Games, you look at the Asian Games, you look at Nike, you look at Apple, and you know one good example, if you buy a Tag Heuer watch, it's exorbitantly valued for its pricelessness. They have got into smart computing. So if you were to compare iWatch to Tag Heuer or Rolex, which one would you actually look at in the terms of its smart computing? So if you look at the computing industry, we are penetrating many things just like photography, just as how we use social media as well. So sports happens to be one of the areas I'm working a lot with as one of the entities, which complements my research area. All right, so today, in view of discussing with you in this area when Professor Sridharan called me, I work on many areas, Wi-Fi, 5G, 6G, proxy mobile IP and so on. And one of the areas that I'm working on is actually on a technology called Li-Fi, which is providing light and providing data through light, which is just another very good area that's growing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and some of the research that we have done with this. And eventually, if I have time, I will just cover with you a little bit on the work that we are doing on sports as well. And I look forward to any possible collaborations that we are working on. Okay. Now, when you look at foundations of revolution, we see industry revolution, 4.0, 1.0. Do we really understand what it takes to bring a revolution? What is defined as a revolution? It is creating momentous change that you cannot recognize the past. True? I'm not married, thank God. Okay, but when my friends get married, I'll consider that a revolution. Because, right? Because things change and you really need to migrate to become successful in many areas of being a good professor and a good mother. I'm a professor. But I don't have to take care of kids when I go home. I only take care of myself and my mother, who my mother until today takes care of me. All right, so when we look at revolution, a good thing for us to understand in your generation, compared to when I was doing computing, is it's very common to talk about revolution as if it just happens like that. This word didn't come that way. When revolution happened a long time ago, it was magnanimous in terms of revolution. So if you look at some examples of revolutions, things that change, that don't recognize each other, what it takes is for it to have momentous, big, magnanimous changes. For example, if you look at the area of wireless, we talk a lot about 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, now 6G. Okay, and surprisingly, there are thousands of patents for 6G already. So you can imagine we haven't even touched the technology. They've already patented and studied it until you cannot imagine. But if you look at these migrations, not yet revolution, right? If you move from FDMA, TDMA, and so on, so 1G right up to 6G, what exactly makes it change to that level? You're all scholars here, right? So what makes it change? For example, if you look at Wi-Fi, I love Wi-Fi, and I don't think it will ever die. You know, in our field, you have to be very careful. You pick a technology and become an expert, and suddenly it becomes obsolete the next day, you too become obsolete with it. For example, like the 802.20 standard. If you look at WiMAX, WiMAX was even deployed in many countries. When the telco companies decided to bring their 4G through LTE, WiMAX just died. It was way alive, and the 802.16 standard died because LTE came in. And today if I ask you WiMAX, I don't think anyone will remember because we all remember long-term evolution. So what I'm trying to tell you is everything takes a change. It's constantly evolving. But to make things better, which all of us do in research, what is it that we do? 1G to 5G is a miraculous creativity of playing with frequency, power, and time, and users. So as we change the orientation of it, can you imagine just like us at home, if you decide to arrange your cupboard in a certain way, it's going to be very much better for you to search for something. So when you look at frequency and time, but the key word is about sharing. How do we all share a frequency so that we can make a technology that is 1G right up to 6G, which can accommodate the billions of things in this so-called new transition of IR 4.0 and 5.0. Same with Wi-Fi. The current standard of BE and AX, you can imagine I had a student working on AX standard. He fell ill. After 6 months, we can't publish a survey paper because the BE has beaten the AX flat currently. So if you look at it, it's migration and creativity of many different areas. All right. Now, similar to the transition, if you look. So what are we always trying to do? We're trying to improve things until we can accommodate billions of devices. So if you look at the term IR 4.0, we're still embracing it in many ways because we're still there. We're still talking about big data. We're still talking about simulations, right? And we're talking about many other things. We're talking about augmented reality and so on. Now, when you look at IR 5.0, what's the major change? From Internet of Things, I tell you, Internet of Things to me is still exclusive. We still look for Wi-Fi, right? True, when I was coming to India, in April I came. Only once I accessed the Wi-Fi of the hotel, and it was a decent hotel I was staying in, and my Facebook blocked me. I'd probably die without my Facebook. I'm not so much, but I use it a lot for work. I've spoken a lot of nice things about you all. And suddenly it said blocked, not you. I'm trying to tell that Facebook, it's me. But because I access a Wi-Fi and I switched off my location, it thinks it's an intruder. And do you know, for 1 month I died without my Facebook, and everybody thought I went into depression. Right? So if you look at that, what I'm trying to tell you is an IP associated to us, just because I use an external IP and not my normal roaming, I'm already disconnected to the world. Now, when we talk about Internet of Things, it's about giving IP to things, giving it to a light. I myself don't have it as a human being, and you can't recognize me just because I use 2 different IPs, and your algo doesn't state that. So now, you are actually telling, we're going to put Internet of Things, and we're going to put an IP into this, so I can control it from my house in Malaysia. It's exclusive to me. And IoT is, but to digest it, it's talking about billions of devices having the capacity of being remotely controlled and having intelligence by just adding a sensor to it. That's it. We are humans, of course, more intelligent than machine because we have this. We have sensing ability. You know when something is not right. I think when I was coming here, I killed Mr. Sridharan and Dr. Ashwin so many times because I thought I was going to be stranded in Chennai airport and I'm not going to be here. Many intelligence things we sense, right? We sense. Am I going to get a ticket? I'm not going to. Shall I call Dr. Sridharan? It's all sensing. Fortunately, they helped me tremendously. So when you look at that, and you look at the IR 1.0 right up to 5.0, now we have Internet of everything. Now we have from big data, we have big data analytics. We have edge computing, meaning that small, tiny little devices are going to have a lot of intelligence in it until they are going. So what's the big problem? Very easy. This is small. So how do you put intelligence so much into it? It will become expensive, it will become heavy, I can't be mobile. So we got to be super creative where to park it. So the only way I can tell you, unless somebody comes back with a Nobel Prize laureate to create a small device that's super big like a server and cheap, we're going to be dependent on definitely the cloud, the edge, the fog, and definitely to reach that, I saved everything on my drive. But if I come here, I have no connection. Yesterday, I took a very simple example I give you. I have a tablet, far better camera than the one I have here. So I took it and got excited. Oh, nice. I took a couple of photos. It took me 1 hour for me to get connected. And then I didn't post the photo because I can't be connected to the network. But it's stored on my great drive. Just to put it from my tablet to the drive to my phone, which is where we are. So many times, to tell you the truth, we have a combination of technologies in one place. Would you agree? Yeah, not one singular technology can deal with everything. You can't say, okay, this technology is going to work with everything. And that's where we all come into the picture. And the bigger hybrid we have, the better it is for us. Correct? Otherwise, how you'll get a PhD? I always tell my students, when you look at something, appreciate it for a while, then start digging for it, what's wrong with it. Because only then you'll get a PhD. Everything, there must be something wrong with it. It's unfortunate. We keep on looking how to make this better, how to get this algorithm better. So in one possible way, you must understand there are many ways of actually resolving it. So one area has many protocols in that. So if you look at all these tremendous big words we use, 6G, 5G, IoT, IoE, at the end of the day, I can tell you, my tablet example yesterday was a perfect example. We are still stuck in a place we can't get the network to work how we wish it was, which is good, which is very good because then we still can survive in this world. If everything was okay, then sorry, no PhD anymore from computer science or computer network. So if you look at it, the demand will continue, I can tell you. You agree? Yeah. Right, now everybody wants to do a live FB. True? No. Everybody wants to do that. Can you imagine the load of a live FB if you went for a concert? Last week, Coldplay came to Malaysia. I think they got more publicity than even anything in this planet. Everybody live streaming from the concert, the thousands of them inside. So what is happening actually, our demand is not stopping, our technology is increasing, but the matching of both of it is going to take time. That means the transition of it. So which means there's a very critical word which is called the spectrum crunch. So when you want to improve, why I told you about 1G, 2G, 3G, we improve the same thing. For example, if you're working in machine learning, yes, Machine learning is happening. But depending on the domain, you'll need to come up with algorithms that work really super fast, or super small, and the device keep changing for you to do it. So in this spectrum crunch, 2 options you have. One, make it 6G to the best. Improve the technology. What would be the other one? Yes? One way is to improve things. The other one is to embrace fusion. See, we are always wanting to improve. New algo, new algo, new algo, new thing. Improve the phone, improve the material, improve the thing. That's physics. Huh? You'll have to come up with a material that is super good and super small and super cheap before this can really work like a cloud. Otherwise, no way it's going to happen. You're going to be stuck with this. So in this era of high technology, what we intend to do is actually to work on fusion. That means if you go back to this diagram, and you look at the picture on your left, and you look at the last one, which is 6G, you will see that it's about combining different kinds of technology. So if you look at one of the first technologies we had was FDMA. After a couple of times, TDMA, CSMA, CD, and so on and so forth, now we have come to OFDMA again. And once you get OFDMA correct, to move to 5G, you use NOMA now. No more OFDMA. And then when you go to 6G, you use a combination of these many things. So combination, a better word for it will be fusion, to work with something to complement the spectrum crunch. That means not everybody will depend on one type of technology. They will improve on other type. You have an option. So one of the ways is actually to use Li-Fi, which is light. So you see, it takes 2 things. Just now in the speech, the word empathy is very important. You put yourself in someone's shoes to understand. So if we live in a very high-end, fictitious technological environment, then you wouldn't look for an option. Because you think, yeah, 6G is enough for it. So along the way, Li-Fi happens to be one that I would consider to be a technology that's actually complementary to the other technologies. But to appreciate it, like I told you, you'll first have to appreciate the spectrum crunch and understand that the billions of devices when you come up with smart city is the gadgets using the IP alongside us, and gadgets are by the millions. So Li-Fi was actually created by a German scientist, and Professor Harald Hess, in 2011, he introduced a live demonstration on TED Talk, and their group worked a lot on this light. But like I told you, if you look at some technologies, they're very scary. They start and then they die. So whether you want to go into something, that's a big question to actually look at that. So this was to create light in order to transmit, and using LED. So it is easier in many sense. You don't have to create a new device. You don't have, like, when WiMAX came into the market, everybody used a dongle to connect. And my campus happened to be one of those selected to be ambassadors for this WiMAX when it came out. We had 7 base stations on campus. So you can imagine a dedicated line. But when you go out, you will find there's a very big different problem with it, because it's special architecture, special devices, and so on. So this Li-Fi, the good news is, in June this year, IEEE ratified a standard for it, which is the 802.11bb. The night I saw this, I sent it to my student and said, we are safe. Because if IEEE decided to form a standard for it, it is going to be dominantly here for some time. And it's a good option to do that. However, as I told you, Li-Fi is very good in speed, efficiency, security, because it doesn't penetrate the buildings, unlike radio spectrum. That's why, I don't know how many of you still listen to radio. I usually listen to it in the car when my Spotify doesn't work. All right? And but it has one of the most strict ways of getting a license, because it is one of the most powerful long-distance transmission that can be done. So Li-Fi has good security. It's less harmful, so it's very cultivated and used in medical where you can't actually do transmission when you don't want to have radio waves around. But of course, every good thing has bad things, has disadvantages. It's a more polite word to use. It's restricted in range, and it's got interference of, if you have line of sight problem, which is already being addressed. And it's still not like Wi-Fi in the sense that we already have standards and devices that are doing it, but it's on the way. So in this area of work, as you can see, back to the spectrum crunch again, one of the most important things to understand in a place, it's good for you to have fusion. So in other words, a simpler word for that is hybrid. So what is the hybrid that has in transmission of data is Wi-Fi and Li-Fi. So I have many slides, but never mind, I'll go through it a bit quickly. I have 5 minutes more to go. And if you look at this hybrid, Li-Fi and Wi-Fi, Li-Fi has already been used in many types of hybrid, okay? We have Wi-Fi and Li-Fi, we have Li-Fi and OCC, and we have many other areas. So one of the things when you have hybrid, of course you know, those of you, I saw the papers in the publication just now, many are in AI and machine learning. So choices are fundamental. And to have choices, you will need lots of data to make that choice, for sure. So in this Wi-Fi and Li-Fi, the work that I'm working on with my students is actually on access point, load balancing, and also handover rate between this. This is a student of mine, a very good student of mine, Rosine from Iraq, and she's been working together. It's our team that's been working, and we've come up with a method of actually using selection of access point. But you can imagine why I like Wi-Fi very much. What do you think is the reason? You don't have to die with things running around so fast. You go to a Starbucks cafe, you're going to sit down quite quietly and you're going to walk slowly, right? If you pick something on a train, I can tell you, you will die with dealing with mobility. Okay, but one of the good reasons is the access point selection when you are in an area, in a hybrid method, that means when a user comes in, which one are you going to pick? Is it going to be a Wi-Fi point? Is it going to be a Li-Fi point? Which Li-Fi point are you going to use? And you know very well we are all in that trade. So when you want to pick something, you have many ways to pick it. And picking that depends on many algorithms. So from the research we did, we have many criteria that to be used. So we decided to use the MCDM method in order to get, of course you know, one thing in networking is how fast are you going to make the decision? So the more intelligent it is, the longer it takes to think, probably the person will be disconnected and you won't get the algorithm to work. It's a very, very key point. Either you make it super intelligent and it takes time, or you make it simple and it does its job. So it's a very difficult balance to strike, actually. So we use many different methods, the capacity of the Li-Fi, the Wi-Fi, CDTs, okay, concurrent rates and other things. Then we did many studies, to tell you the truth, in order to make sure that this works correctly. And from the literature, it was good for us to know, because probably Li-Fi is new. MCDM has not been used actually for many of the studies. So what we did was we had an identification phase, a weighting phase, a ranking phase, and then finally an evaluation phase, because after choosing the algorithms or the access point, we want to see whether it really improves the metrics. All right, so we used the AHP and the Y-core together with these algorithms in order to get the best reading which is possible. So this is the flow chart of the AHP and Y-core. And in order to get the selections, what we did was, Rosine contacted the Li-Fi Center, and we worked with experts there in order, and they were very gracious, I can tell you that. These are super experts. When my student got a reply from them, she was jumping as if she had met Albert Einstein. Because that's how good they are. So when they reply something of yours, she was so excited. She said, "Doctor, the expert replied." I said, "Okay, very good. Next time when you see me, also be happy." I was just joking with her. But anyway, so they gave us their feedback. We did a weightage. We came up with the selection of the weightage, put in the weightage with some other algorithms. Sorry, I have to rush through because I don't want to take up time. And finally, you all know, at the end of the day, we really need to prove we are better than someone else. So as intelligent as it is, first thing I told my student is, check the complexity analysis and how much of space and time it takes. All right, so when we did it, it did improve tremendously. In terms of fairness, we used the Jane's Fairness Index, and we struck a very respectable result that we have had. Okay, so when you look at these selections of many things, you will find that in the area of Li-Fi, there are many areas that you can look into. So MCDM happens to be one of these, which has turned out to give very good results. And light happens to be with the ratification of the 802.11 standard. BB, it's good news that it will be here to have a combination. This project, I can tell you, one of the things, I'll share this with you later. As I told you, we are planning to, we are already doing this. So I'll take 2 minutes extra. It's 30 minutes, 42 seconds now. Okay, so if you look at it, I told you we want to use something, do it in a domain. So in sports, we have done quite a lot of things. This is our startup. We've addressed a couple of national programs as well. And few areas we're working on, which I'm very happy actually because we have many collaborators and making this international will be great as well. So we look at sports performance analysis. We're looking into women in sports. We're looking into mental health. We're also looking into food. I saw a nutrition paper. You can imagine. But what we are looking at, to tell you the truth, I've been at international federations, at the Olympics. I've seen people, how people compete at the Olympics. And I can tell you one thing, thanks to us in the field of computing, someday somebody doesn't have to wait for 4 years to compete. They're going to compete every single day on their devices. And if you notice today, I'm not sure in India, but in Malaysia, the marathons are crazy. And everybody wants a finisher medal. Because, you know, it's a satisfaction. And if you look at one of the nicest industries I would ever want sports to be, is the entertainment industry. Today, somebody didn't give you a chance. When I played for my country, it took me a long process. And a winded process with lots of politics before I became a national player. And if I didn't become a national player, I wouldn't have been deputy president of Malaysian hockey, and I wouldn't be doing this project. So as a very little child, from that little town I came from, now I'm based in the capital of Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur for many years, but I still go back home and I still see the sea I ran. And the creativity I have to use because there's no gym. So I tied the weights to old hockey sticks and, you know, the bricks. I used to roll it to make my wrist strong, so that was one of the reasons I made it into the national team, because I could scoop a ball. So one of the things why I'm doing this project is I want to help those children who don't get a chance, who don't get a chance to be visible and so on. So one of the things that we are doing, apart from making it intelligent and all those stuff, is for us to actually, this part, the one in red, is actually for us to bring Li-Fi into, if you look at many of the successful Li-Fi projects, they're also used in villages, where actually you find it very difficult to bring in. But you know, most places, thank God, our planet is very civilized. We have light everywhere. So if we are able to bring this, we hope that as intelligent it is, like biomechanics, mental health, performance analysis and so on, we hope that we'll be able to bring Li-Fi to some of the most rural areas in order to help the athletes to do that. Okay, so I think with that, thank you very much. Oh, still haven't got this. Okay. So do I take any questions or finish? Okay. Okay. If you have any questions, otherwise you're most welcome to contact me whenever you want to. You are all, just remember what I told you. It's you who make every effort of anything happen. This conference is not a simple conference. Yes. Oh, so cute. Oh, thank you, sir. That's a bit out of this one, but Professor asked me to explain what is the title of Dato in my name. Dato is, I think if you know the Sir title in England, when you are given by the royalty a title for doing something that helps. I was very humbled, actually, to tell you the truth, to get this from estate for my contribution in both academics as well as sports. So in 2018, I was given the title Dato. So it's exactly, we were also part of British colony those days. So it's equivalent to the Sir title, sir. Thank you. Okay, so I forgot to tell Professor Sridharan he's not allowed to ask me. Just kidding. So, okay, Professor Sridharan asked me about the census on sportsmen. I can tell you one thing. When I played for Malaysia, this is why many of my research, I'm 50 now, and I've reached an age, now I want to make a difference in people's life. When I was younger, yes, I wanted to, I'm crazy about publications and grants and stuff. But I really want to make a difference for someone that will really make a difference, not simply do things and do it. So, as Professor said, when you use sensors on athletes, I can tell you, there's one device, it's called NeuroCloud. It's on your head, and this is not like Frankenstein, you don't drill. It's such a high-tech, beautiful, like a earphone piece, and when you put it on your head, they have a software that can exactly see what's running, how you're feeling. So when these guys came to show me the product, they said, Prof, come, let's put it on your head. I said, no, you will find out exactly I'm not happy you're here. Although I'm smiling and saying, thank you. I had a lot of work and these guys really wanted to show me. So I said, please. So I caught 3 of my staff. And when I said, can you come and help me? They, sure, Prof. All 3's face looked happy. Looked very happy. One was a research officer, PhD holder. The other one was an admin, degree holder. And the final one was my very cute little clerk. Okay, she's a diploma holder. She doesn't even have a diploma. She has school thing and she's doing. So when they came and they started asking them to use, do you know my great PhD holder, degree holder, all red. So and they don't know, I can see that. So I asked him, I said, Azhar, are you happy here? Oh, it's very interesting, Prof. Such a beautiful software and it's red color, which means totally I'm unhappy about it. And you know who was the happiest? My clerk. It was green. And this application can actually make you sleep, solve your problems, and do it. All right? Even this, us computing, right? 24 hours we are on the machine. Sometimes you don't realize it's 4 hours, 5 hours. Now, thanks to my friend here, time to stand. Walk a little bit more. This is kind of a sensor as well, right? And you see now, because of this thing, you can do it. 2 minutes more. Okay. How much does this cost? It's expensive. And many of the good athletes are the people who don't have money to eat. So, when you have sensors and so on, it's very good, but it's people like you who can create a revolution for kids who can't even buy a decent meal to run. They run and win a medal with an empty stomach. So when we use these sensors, there are many, that's why, like I told you, in this world of AI, it's beautiful, this machine learning. I admire those of you who know how to do it very well. I'm picking it up now, because I'm in networking, but I have to pick it up. But when you do that, you have to get correct data. So the sensor has to be correct. And now, fortunately, in many countries, especially here, China, Taiwan, it costs 400 ringgit, which is like what, 100 US? To get a watch with all kind of sensors, customize it to my label, and it just takes me one email to the company, deposit the money, and next thing I get my watch in 1 week. And when I first bought my Arduino sensor, it was classic. It wasn't Arduino, it was Mica 2 from US. I had to import it through Singapore, get university clearance. It cost me 10,000 ringgit. Last week, I got my class to do a project. So I told them, okay, I will buy you the sensors. And you know how much I paid for it? 5 ringgit. Yeah, 40 ringgit. And you know where I bought it? On Shopee. Shopee is like an online thing, which makes me very happy actually. It's so easy to shop. And it's so cheap. And then they eyewash you with things that this is 100% guaranteed. This is cheapest. And I bought them the sensors, and they did their class project, in 4 weeks, from this equipment I bought, and you know how the sensors came? The last time it came from US in a box, sealed, airtight, and my student was so sweet. He said, Prof, you open it. I said, no, you open it. You know, opening the box was like a magical Walt Disney program for us. So happy to get the sensor. You know how this came? In a wrapped up plastic, in one brown torn box, and it worked perfectly. So, you know, sensors and so on, they are also making good progress, but the algorithms get to make it better. How you read from sensors that are not so good, but they'll make the device cheaper. Our application that we did, that I'll be sharing tomorrow, is parked on the Samsung watch, because only Samsung allows you to extract the data and put the apps on it. We had discussion with Sunto, with Garmin, and so on, but we decided to park it there. But our product now costs 1,500 ringgit because of the watch. So what we have done, we've taken off the watch now. Now we're parking on the mobile phone, and we're trying to create our own sensors. That's why we're going into the smart room to study the thing, to make it cheaper and an alternative that will work. So it's good for you to form a collaboration with engineers, with subject matter experts, and become good at that subject matter yourself, so your collaborator doesn't think you are nothing without them. That's very important, because you know, then once you create something very big, you must have value for the data. People don't give data now. So when you install an application, do you agree to track it? Straight away you answer no, right? Why? Because you know that data is not going to help you only, it's going to help the company make the money. So data now, because people are very intelligent about AI, you need to find collaborators that will benefit from your engagement of using their data. And yes, you do have to have a good financial model, but make it in such a way that it also improves the society tremendously. Okay, so thank you very much again.